Years ago, a colleague of mine and I worked on this idea of the seasons of togetherness. Seasons of togetherness by looking at the actual seasons, spring, summer, autumn, winter, and how we can map that onto a relationship as a useful way for couples to understand what commonly happens in relationships, but also what to be aware of and where things can go wrong. Now, the first season, of course, is spring. Spring is the season of newness, of expansion, of growth, of differentiation. It's a time in the relationship of two people meeting each other where there's still a lot of curiosity, spontaneity, and really an interest in the otherness of the other person. The way in which they are different is not only really much more tolerated, but it's explored, it's pursued. So you can see that what is a key part here is the two individuals in the spring typically are at the place where they are the most able to step into the interpersonal space, where they're the most able to discover and explore and meet the other person with their uniqueness and differences, and most able to tolerate it. I say most because this can vary really with what we bring into the relationship. What other relationships we've had, our formative experiences will shape the nature and the quality of this spring. But broadly speaking, spring is this honeymoon phase of the relationship. Even though individually we are bringing our values, our formative patterns into the relationship itself doesn't yet have a pattern. It hasn't consolidated into anything yet. So it's the time of a lot of hope for what this relationship will be, what we will get out of it, who we will be in this relationship. It's an exciting time, generally speaking. But spring doesn't last forever. And it's important to just acknowledge that. It will never last forever, because that's not the way relationships work. So with time, spring gives way to summer. Spring is about excitement, about meeting the other, about the curiosity of the difference, the tolerance of the other. Summer is the emergence of the pattern of the relationship, the way we are as a couple. So in another way I can say that summer is the time when the we-ness, the us, or the usness, or the couple bubble emerge. The particular way in which the two of us not only meet each other, but we are starting to figure out the way we dance together, the way we move together, the way we adjust together across time and in different contexts. This is the time when we see the couple evolving these unique habits. The thing we do on a Friday night, the thing we do when, the type of trips we take when we travel, the things we have conversations about, all of those bring a lot of comfort and a lot of familiarity. That's what summer really brings. It's a time of in many ways of abundance. It's a time of thriving. We are typically also at this point moving in the relationship towards a place, maybe we move in together, maybe we get married, and it can also extend all the way through to starting a family. All of these things are times of consolidation. So where spring was an expansion of newness and curiosity of the otherness, summer is really the stabilizing, the stabilizing of the unique way in which we are together, the emergence of these roles, who does what, how do we do things, the type of things we say, the way we deal with things, all of that, the stability. So it's sort of a leveling off and of consolidation. And this is not a negative thing. In itself, this has to happen in any relationship. It's the formation stage of the relationship. It's the stability of the relationship. But you can potentially see that towards the end of summer, what you'll have is that potentially these patterns are increasingly set. The roles become so rigid. The roles can become quite hard. So what is the difference between summer to autumn is the cooling down. So from summer there's a cooling down, which is from all these, the comfortable togetherness, the pattern, the we-ness, the us-ness of the relationship, the specific roles we've taken on in the relationship. I'm the one that does this, you're the one that sorts out our bills, and I'm the one that, does that nice thing that you like to eat on a Friday night. All of these consolidations start to make space for, or start to lead to a place of where we also feel that the absence. So the transition from summer to autumn is the emergence of loss and of pain. It doesn't mean there isn't any loss or pain or any other discomfort in the earlier seasons. That's not true. But the autumn of the relationship is the cooling down. And what that means is that the boredom of the relationship, the set roles and the way we do things. Remember, this is all things. It's not just what we do on a Friday night. It's also how we have arguments. It's also how we resolve things. It's the accumulation of things that actually have started way back in spring and summer. It's the accumulation and the heightening of the pain points, of the dissatisfaction, of the fact that we can never have this conversation without it becoming an argument, the way in which we are never able to resolve certain issues, the way in which I may feel increasingly stuck in a particular role with specific things that I have to do in a relationship that I don't really necessarily want or like or am comfortable with. Now the fourth season is of course winter. Winter is the place of closing down, of shuttering the windows and preparing for a future that may seem like an internal winter actually, and in some respects it's a time where hope is lost. It's a time of absolute conservation in the sense of survival. When a couple enters winter, the attempts to connect and the attempts to expand and grow and change, they've all been lost. This is the time when a couple is in a place of defensiveness, in a place of surviving individually, not in the relationship. So the survival doesn't relate to the couple, it's survival as an individual, where we feel very alone. We have the sense of loss, but also a loss of hope for this ever-changing. Through the previous seasons, we would have tried in different ways from our individual perspective to make amends, to fix things, to change things. And we probably got to the winter because for whatever reason those attempts failed. It's the time of monsters. Winter is the time when the caricature of the other, the distorted view that we've accumulated of the other person has really reached its peak. It's the time when we're hiding in the middle of the forest, hunkering down and, hiding from the monsters, protecting ourselves from this otherness. So you can see there's a very dark inversion that happens, where spring is the excitement and the tolerance and the exploration of the otherness. Winter is the return to the otherness, where the other is everything that's bad, what they are, what they have done to me, the things they have said, that time 5 years ago when you said this or did that. It's an accumulation of injuries and of pain and of loss and of dissatisfaction. And this is why couples get so stuck, because they have actually arrived at a place where the person they see when they look at their partner is not a human being. I'm not saying people are saying their partner is an alien. What I'm saying is, if you listen to how people describe the other, it is a caricature, it's a distortion. That's what I mean with monsters. It's a distortion of that person. It's a one-sided focus on all the things that have gone wrong and all the ways they have not met my needs and all the thousands of injuries that has been sustained, and a complete loss of a willingness to actually engage with that, but also a loss of the things that were actually okay, the nurturing positive qualities, that gets lost. And this is winter, and you can see this is a death, or death of a relationship, because when people are in this place, they no longer engage, they just protect themselves. They're just focused on surviving, getting through, and of course, of escaping. And this is why you see relationships then also ending in different ways. So if this is the trajectory, and in a way that is what I'm saying, is that potential, if a relationship is left on its own, in other words, if no one is intentionally working on the relationship, all relationships lead to winter. But this doesn't have to be like that. And this is what I call the second spring. The second spring is, again, the complete opposite of the first spring. The first spring was spontaneous, easy, comfortable, from a place of not having accumulated all the stuff, the damage of the relationship. The second spring is completely different. It's a place of intentionality. That means I intentionally step into this space. Let's use the image of the person hiding in a little cabin in the middle of winter, and everything is closed up and shuttered. It is stepping into that cold. It's jumping into the icy water. It's taking that risk. That is intentionality of actually stepping in where everything around you is telling you on a survival level, don't do this, protect yourself, conserve yourself. So the second spring is about intentionality. It is conscious. A lot of spring in the relationship, normal spring, the first springs, they're easy, they're spontaneous. It feels like it comes natural. It feels, and the myth is that it's always going to be like that, which is not true. The second spring is conscious. It makes a decision to value something, the other person, to rediscover them, to work on the relationship, to not allow it to die. That's a conscious intent. The third part of the second spring, which is probably the one most couples lose track of, when we are in a place of the other being the monster outside, the aggressor, the perpetrator, we lose track of what we have done. No relationship ends up in winter with you individually not having done something in some way that has contributed substantially to what has happened. Not intentionally, it's just it takes two people to get to winter. And so the third part of the second spring is really about looking at what you have done, the ownership, taking ownership for what you do and what you have done, the ways in which on a day-to-day basis you are damaging the relationship, whether it's because you're withdrawing and completely absent and because you've checked out already, or because of the way you engage in your partner in a way that may be extremely aggressive and hostile, or any of the other. It doesn't have to be extremes. It's what are you doing? Because whatever you're doing at that point is probably part of the pattern. So just pulling back a little bit, I find the idea of the seasons of a relationship or the seasons of togetherness quite useful. I find it useful as a way of understanding the unavoidable progression of any relationship from spring to summer to autumn to winter, if nothing is done, if it is just left to itself. However, how I see my own work and the work in any relationship is really to turn up and become conscious, to become intentional, and to focus on what do I do? What am I doing in the relationships that are actually causing these injuries? And this is ownership. Now typically, and this will be from a place of defensiveness and otherness, what most people do is they want to focus on changing the other person. They want them to start doing it. They want the other person to take the initiative. They want the other person to go for individual therapy. And it doesn't mean any of those things can't be done and aren't useful. But to actually make this shift, both people simultaneously have to step into that space in a very different way, in a way where they are willing to engage and step out of that sort of icy cold place.